Hey folks, Bard Bryan with Bard Bryan Law Offices here in Paducah, Kentucky. I want to talk to you today about Cliven Bundy, which was a rancher out in Nevada that had a dispute with the federal government. It was back in 2014. There was a big confrontation between people supporting the Bundy Ranch and against the Bureau of Land Management. There's a long history of this going back to the 90s, so I can't sort all that out. But there was a recent ruling. The trial began about 52 days ago, so it's been going on about 2 months. And when you have a prosecution like this, it is incumbent upon the prosecutor to reveal information to the defense that they have that could be helpful to the defense. And won't go into all the statutes and regulations and so forth, but they have a duty to do that. That's part of their job. Well, in what is a pretty stunning development, the court ruled that the prosecutor had failed in this duty, had not turned over evidence that could help the defense. And in that situation, the judge has two choices. She can either decide to delay the trial to let the defense get back up to speed. She can postpone the trial and reset it for a later date, or if it's especially egregious and a very flagrant violation, then the judge can dismiss the case with prejudice. Now, when you dismiss a case with prejudice, that means that this case cannot be brought back up again. So here's what happened. There was an indictment of Mr. Bundy and several other people for a whole host of violations. Basically, they threw the book at him. 18 U.S.C. 371, 372, U.S.C. 115, 924. In other words, a whole laundry list of allegations was taken against Mr. Bundy, including the fact that he was conspiring and leading a group of armed gunmen against the federal government. Mr. Bundy's response was, "We didn't do that. In fact, the federal government prompted all this, and this was a grassroots and organic response to a very aggressive move by the Bureau of Land Management and by federal authorities." Well, so the government's case was built around a narrative that they weren't doing anything wrong, but Mr. Bundy prompted all this controversy and all this confrontation. Well, come to find out, the Bundys were right, because among the material that was not turned over to the Bundys was that there had been records and surveillance, surreptitious surveillance on him. There were records about government snipers being present, which the Bundys had maintained had been done. There were other information about that they actually had in their possession, the government had their own threat assessments, that the Bundys were no threat as far as violence or confrontation when they went out there with all their guns and snipers and so forth. So in a stunning ruling, Judge Navarro said that this was so egregious and terrible, the government withholding this information, including maps, and in fact, one Bureau of Land Management officer had kept a file, and when he had seized people's lands, he kept a file of people who had killed themselves due to the fact that the government had seized their land. That wasn't turned over to him, and he was instrumental in the case. So when you see a judge, and by the way, kudos to Judge Navarro. She, from my reading, was the first Latina judge appointed in Nevada. And Judge Navarro also has a husband that, at least at one time, may still be a Clark County prosecutor, state prosecutor, which is Clark County where this occurred. And she is the judge who threw out this case against the Bundys and the other defendants. So it's kind of surprising this hasn't been picked up by the media, because you can safely say that the people at the Bundy Ranch supporting the Bundys were seen as Trump people, and here you have a Latina judge who absolutely, in my opinion, did the right thing, and when the government stepped out of bounds, and they did so in a very flagrant manner, she dropped the hammer, and she has dismissed this case against the Bundys. So it's pretty stunning, and it's good to see a judge who will take these measures when the government's out of bounds. Bard Bryan for the Bard Bryan Law Offices. You guys have a good day.